since we are talking today with three amazing Latina women, community builders, I'll just start celebrating your existence and your resistance by being in a culture that can be sometimes very individualistic and has many health and cultural issues because of that. So today I celebrate Denisia Days, Yuky Angulo, and Marcela Bonancio for being here with us with Psychedelic Parenthood community. Today we are talking about building community in urban culture and urban spaces, territories. And it's beautiful to have these three here. They are co-founders of Sacred Rooftop in New York City. Denisia Days is the Brazilian from Umbanda and Candomblé lineage, medium, healer, massage therapist, and yoga instructor. Yuki is a curandeira, Mexican and Peruvian descendant, healer, body worker, Reiki and yoga instructor. Marcela is a neuroscientist educator and also community builder. They're both great mothers for the Sacred Rooftop community. And today we are going to listen a bit more about their stories and also about building a community in urban jungle, right? So I call each one of you to speak a bit more about your stories and about this team that we're bringing here today. And after we have a few questions and a few more debate about it. Okay?
Okay.
So, Denisia, please come to the front.
Wow, I'm first. Yes.
Tabata only said to you because we were both from Salvador, so it's a kind of bias calling, you know, like only Salvadorians from Brazil.
Então, eu tenho que começar como? Tô perdida. Oh my God!
No.
Talk a little more
Dá uma...
about how, yes, today is for English speakers, so
I know.
yes, excuse me, I know Portuguese sometimes can be bad, but you can start talking with us about how you end up in New York City, building a community with two other great Latina women.
Yeah. So I will go to start when I met Marcela, 7 years ago. In the group, the Women's Community Women's. And this time when we met, we in the same situations. And so after these years, we met again for in the different propose, She started to learn more, to connect your spirituality. For me, spirituality always in my life because I grew up to see my grandma, my mom, doing these things. Tea, praise. So for me, this is very common. It's natural. And when we started to, in the birthday of Marcela, she invited me to do the sound healing. And she, oh, I think I want to do this more. Yes, this is amazing, It looked like impossible, but we created, and more people came, more people. When I showed the pictures and I tell about the proposal, people say, wow, this is amazing. This is in New York? I don't believe in that. So when I tell before, for me, Yuki, Marcela is like a trinity, a, a trindade, There's a trinity, the base for sustain this group, the propose, the care people, real, known for like performance, oh, community. No, this is real, real to know to people. I, uh, we have close to people, no? So for me, this is like very important. It's like terreiro, because terreiro is like that. Everyone take care, your brothers, your sisters, grow together. So Sacred Rooftop is a terreiro in New York. I think you need to ask me because I don't know.
That's great. And I can feel that even if I've never been to Sacred Rooftop, we can feel it, the real, we can feel the love that you all put in it. It's pretty transparent. So
Uh-huh.
community is ancestral technology, just like a terreiro.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Exactly. And trust, you know, like very solid. I trust in Yuki. Yuki trust me. I trust in Marcella. It's like it's real, in the same page. I have this point to do. Yuki is good for that. So in working together in balance, this really amazing. It's terreiro, like terreiro.
perfect. I'd like
Mhm.
to hear a bit more about Yuki thoughts on that as well. Please, Yuki, share a bit with us.
Ooh. My thoughts as far as how the community is like a tejero.
How you feel
So for
about Sacred Rooftop and build this community in New York? That I'm sure there's many challenges in that.
well, so it's been interesting building the Sacred Rooftop in the areas because I'm not from New York. You know, Denisia lives in New York, Marcella lives in New York, but I live in New Jersey. So it's been interesting, working there because it's kind of like I'm having to um like go to different community events inside New York, even though I'm from New Jersey, so I'm constantly traveling in and out. But then also getting New Jersey people to come to New York as well has been an interesting, another interesting work that I've had to kind of be like, all right, that's how because I feel like also we had this plan separately, but then it became a collective together thing. Like what Denisia said, we complement each other very well. And I feel like it kind of organically happened because the first year we did this, before it was officially the Sacred Rooftop, we were already having like Denisia said, Marcela's birthday was what kind of kicked it off. But then it was when Glauber came to visit that we really were like, all right, this is going to be an ongoing thing. Um, and then the first year, it was just us kind of like inviting our friends. We were just like, hey, we're going to be together at this day here. Just come. We weren't really asking for donations. We weren't really paying attention who was, I mean, we knew who was coming like in our brains separately because we're very good at also a big part of building a community is getting to know your community members. I think Denisia mentioned a little bit, is actually putting the time to get to know people individually, right? So I feel like the way we started, we kind of, I don't know if it was done in a way the other way around or not, but we started with getting to know the community before actually building the community, if that makes sense, right? Because we knew who was coming, we knew who was around, we were already making the connections with and starting to nurture our community. And then later on, which is now we're in our technically in our second year, now we have to keep track of who's coming in and out. We have a Partiful app now that we use instead of just like messaging our friends individually. We're tracking, who's coming in and who we see often, who we don't see. And just so that we also know, are they showing up for integration after sitting with us in circle? Me, Denise, and Marcella, we do have these conversations outside of the group. We get together monthly, a few times actually. And I could be I'm actually not saying all of it because I feel like we're constantly checking on each other, like, hey, this came up, this came up. So that really helps with kind of keeping everything flowing well. Um, for me, I feel like I really push a lot of the community is medicine kind of stuff because I myself have very much gotten a lot of help from being in this community, from building the community, and from the members in the community. I, you know, have had a rough last 6 years, and a lot of it has been integration work. And the best integration work that I do is in the community. So yeah, I believe that working together has been one of the best parts of it because I don't think I could have ever done it by myself. I had all of the ideas, but it was just like we were able to complement each other. Like Denise just said, we're like a tripod, So we complement each other and balance it all so well that each of us is able to thrive in their own little space and still come together at the top. So yeah,
Mhm.
if you have any more questions, I can answer questions too.
It's interesting because you and Denise brought this about this almost sacred trinity, right? But for me, it brings this matriarchal sense of building a group, a circle that is not about hierarchy, about who's more powerful, who's the chief. It's about caregiving, and it's important to have these figures of sustenance, of nurturing, because we have to build this center of this group, but it's not about hierarchy, it's about care. And I can feel that for you three as well. You take care of each other, right? Marcela, would you like to join the conversation?
Yes, yes, yes. This is such a special conversation because, to me, like it's when I think about the Sacred Rooftop, really, to me, it is a reflection of my childhood, really. I think I grew up in a family where I had like a lot of cousins, and my parents would host parties over the weekend, and a lot of people sleeping over in my house, So this is, and now like I tell people, it's the parties became a little bit more sophisticated, with plant medicine, with, and, I'm hosting a lot of people like in my home from indigenous people, spiritual leaders, from Yuky, Denisia, sleeping over. Like I tell people, I think my life was when I was, my family, cousins, and then at some point was like my school, in my teen years, like, a lot of friends sleeping over in my house and doing parties. And now it's the spiritual school, and the spiritual school brought me, Yuki and Denisia and like so many others, people even here, Lizzie and Camila and Kaki and Tanya and Jenny and, and some others that I was still kind of, will on. And to me, New York, I have been here for like 16 years. And when I moved here from Brazil, the lack of community, it was something that I always struggled, because New York has 8 million people and there's so much to do here. And yet, I've been, years ago in a place where I would want to have a dinner with friends, and you have no friends to have dinner because people are busy, they're traveling, they are, busy at work, they are in and out, everybody's busy. New York is, from every place I've ever lived, from Japan, from Brazil, from New York, and traveling all over the world. I think this is one of the most individualistic places, which brings some pros and brings a lot of cons too, right? But I think like having a community and having a place for me where I would find all my friends and feel at home, it was something inside me that I always wanted to have here, right? And when I met then Denise and Yuki, one of the things that I saw on them, it was something that I see on myself, was this nurturing. And as Yuki mentioned and Denisia mentioned, before community, we were friends bringing friends, right? Before we say we are a community. And being actually in a community for us, like it's not only about hosting events and hosting talks like that. Behind that, there's a lot of work that we do that's very one-on-one in our community, in a sense where I know people that call Yuki asking for help and guidance and referrals, people that call Denisia and ask for that as well, for support, for different types of support, spiritual support. Sometimes it's about like I've been in situations, helping let people from our community here, stay in my home because they were running from domestic abuse, from many other things that are a lot more complex, right? So I think one of the success that we see like in our community, it's really about the nurturing, is really about, I think, as you mentioned, Tabata, this more matriarchal way of building things where we are nurturing and there's really no hierarchy, and and people reach out, to us in different ways, asking for different things. And within that, and obviously we have our, and there's another thing also that's like for us was like really important, and something that we set up since day one, as this started very organically, right? For us, this was not also like, oh, let's build a community to make money, right? So, like a lot of our events that we do, like sometimes, like in the beginning, we would put money actually. We would spend our own money to buy food and things and, to have those. And then at certain point, it became like we are break even. And now we are in a point that we have, some profit, which is good, but it's not like a big thing. It's not something that we can live like from the community, like in that sense, right? But this is something that we do like regardless. And we, when we host our events, we have a kind of monthly, which is sacred for us. Like every month, we try to get together as a community beyond other events that we do in partnerships, even with indigenous communities or like Glauber as a spiritual leader or other people that come right here. But this monthly community for us, it's something that sometimes in the beginning would come like 5 people, 7 people, and now we are get to a point that sometimes we have like 40 people coming. So, but really, I think the growth towards the end, it's really about this very one-on-one work that I know that runs, on the background, like on the background of our lives beyond everything that we do. So I tell, like, to me it is a dream come true, but it is really a collective dream. And when people come to the Sacred Rooftop, they often say that, like, when we say it's a dream, people leave like with the sensation, wow, that was my dream too, to find a place like that, right? And they feel the care, they feel safety, they feel, safe with us. We work with like plant medicine, not like really deep and big journeys, but we have like rapé circles, we have mushroom, light dose mushrooms with people, and people feel that it is a space that and that happens in many of our events where people struggle with their own process, but they know that we are there, and we are there to take care of them. And I also, and lastly, so I don't say too much, right? But lastly, I would say like that, I always tell people, if you're feeling good, you come here to give. But if you're not feeling good, that's definitely the day you should come, because you're gonna come to receive. And the Yuki and Denisia, for me, like, again, as they mentioned too, like we give in different ways, and we balance out like the way we work around, with different skills, with different approaches, with so I'm to me is really really a dream come true, like everything that we have been doing now.
Beautiful. I was listening to all your your sayings, Yuki, Denise as well, and imagining the challenges about building a community in a place like New York City, since maybe struggles with people showing up, like time and space, but also maybe with prejudice. So I'd like to hear more about who of you wants to say about that, about the challenges, about the resistance part of building this community.
I can say, I think like New York in general, it's there's Fran Lebowitz. She's a writer in New York, and she's very famous here. But she talks about that if we think about all the logical reasons why we are in New York, it doesn't work. It's a very expensive place to live. It smells bad. There's just way too many people. It's overwhelming. It can be really really cold, it can be really really hot in the summer. So if we think about like all the logical reasons like to be in New York, she's like, there's none. There's none. Because the math doesn't close, you know but then you have to be, I feel like you have to stay in New York more than 5 years. And then only, like in general, people would come to New York and stay 1, 2 years and then they leave, right? Because it's just too much. And that's like, I would say, is probably 90, 95%. And then there's 5% of people that are here for, much more, 5 years, 16 years. Denise probably more than 20, like Yuki since like, I don't know, 3, 4 years old. And then if you stay long enough, then you're gonna start to realize like that the really good things about New York, which it is then the people actually, because New York is very diverse. I don't know like another place that has so much diversity. And that when we talk about diversity, it's a nice word to talk about it, but when you put diverse people together, it is challenging, right? Because we are talking about different beliefs. We are talking about communities here of like Jewish people that we have, Iranian people, and then they are in a war right now, and we put all these people together in a room to pray together, right? And to pray in Hebrew and to pray in Iranian language in so there's challenges. I think there's challenges about that, but at the same point, people that are here, they somewhat are like they are open to that experience, and they are like open to learning, because that's the only way we can kind of soften the division that's currently happening, right? So and we do this often, like we bring Jewish community, Iranian community, and when we do those things, we have been doing that, and even Denisia bringing a lot of like the Afro-Brazilian, right? And we notice that sometimes the events, like less people would come because they're not as connected, right? They have a resistance in coming depending on the subject. We are kind of shining a spotlight, but at the same time we kind of stand on, we don't like, if we decide like to talk about something that we know it's going to be very uncomfortable and maybe less people are going to show up, for us it's good. It's fine. We accept whoever comes should be here. And this is something I think that we bring a lot even from Glauber, the confluence talk. It's really about living that. So there's a lot of challenges around that. There's challenges about the cost. New York is one of the highest, costing living cities in the world. Like everything is very expensive here. And like in the Sacred Rooftop, like it is really, we are flying above the radar, really, because like again, if I put the logic behind it, there's no logic. It's a residential bidding, number one. It's not a commercial, right? So there's a limitation in how much we can also host, right? Like we try to do not host as much because again, this is not a commercial place. It's like where I live. It's a building that has, this beautiful rooftop that we reserve. We pay for a reservation fee, and then that's how we do it, right? And so there's so many, right? There's again New York, like different from Brazil. Like in Brazil, like ayahuasca is legal. There's other plant medicines are a little bit less. And here we don't have that. So we have, if we think all the logical reasons, like we should not be doing this because it's not legal, because this is not a commercial space, because, we are trying to bring in together a lot of people that are currently in war right now. And so if we think all the logical reasons, it doesn't make any sense, right? The only way that it makes sense, it's the spiritual reasons behind that we do that. And not only that, but also the way we feel like we really do this because we really love. So we are aware of the risks actually involved, the liability involved, like in everything we do. And we try to do with like the utmost not only care but also thinking about in all those other other factors that we need to always consider, because we are in a space that brings a lot of like restrictions for us to do this work.
Okay,
And that also, I would like to add to so a little bit also of going off of Marcella, what she was speaking about is, um, as far as like, we do a lot of integration work in our space. So another thing that has been a little bit challenging with that part of it is we are very nurturing, right? We provide a lot of care, but also it's challenging knowing how much care and how much nurturing needs to go into someone. And when we're overgiving and when people are overtaking, because that's another part of community and community work, right? Is as, I mean, even though there's three of us and we're equally, navigating this together, people do see us as leaders. There is always, even though there is no hierarchy, there are roles. And I feel like a challenge is knowing, okay, as a leader, how many expectations are you putting on that leader, right? So me, Marcella, and Denisia, we try and come in as authentic as possible with these things, right? So that people understand that they can't put us on pedestals, that we're not going to be there holding your hand every day. That's community is about taking care of each other and taking care of yourself. And that's been something that, we've noticed as well. Like we see members come in, we see members come out, we notice certain people not come back. And we do have conversations about it on the background, right? But we decide together, which is also a good thing, is there's three of us. So we can actually vote and say, hey, what do you guys think? Should we pick this to do or should we pick this to do? Let's vote on it. And we always get a good one way or the other, we always come with a good solution. And I think that helps a lot with also figuring out how much time, effort, and space and of our energy do we give to each individual community member. So that's a little bit add on to what Marcella was speaking about.
That's magnificent add-on because it's the real thing. It's not romanticizing a community, everyone wants flowers in their head and holding hands. That's lots of work in the background as well. So, Denisia, I'm curious about, and I know, as Marcela said, maybe a bias, but I'm very connected with your work in specific and your way of touching spirituality. So I wanted to ask you about bringing this sacred ancestral energy, terreiro, this earthy energy, to a place like New York, to a rooftop in the middle of the urban territory. How's that for you?
It's really hard because there's no, in my beliefs, there's no the right place for that. And I learn a lot because in the same time, I need to do this, to pass my guides to coming. This is like my obligation, the my path, my life. And sometimes I have resistance, like fear, because I know when I incorporate, it's very strong for people to see. Sometimes people don't believe in, or the energy is strong. The incorporation is really scaring people sometimes. Caboclo, like the entity caboclo, no, scream, jump, no, sting, so strong, oh, hug people, we shake. So these things is scary people. But at the same time, I feel so happy when I have my gatherings, and I feel people tell me, "Oh, your entity, tell me this." I feel, I feel better. No, I feel the clarity. So my heart so feel like, oh, like I finish my work. I doing my work well, because yeah. Eu tô esquecendo as palavras. I forgot the words in Portuguese and English, so horrible. So I doing my intention. For me, is my intention. When I learning in my family, my grandma doing this in the house. The terreiro de my family is in the house. It's not a big terreiro. And for me, I do the same performance. The same performance I learned in my family. To teaching about the herbs, the pray, to open your heart. Do I understand? I understand your feelings. Because some people don't want to connect to your feelings. No, you need to see your feelings. You see your shadows, because your shadow is your mirror. You learning in your mirror. When you stay in hard time, this is the best time. No hard. This is the best time to learn, to grow. And spirituality is like this for me. And receive in the sacred rooftop is the challenge. Yeah. The last time the caboclo came, oof, I suffer because I can resist. So have this duality, that my conscience say no, and the same time the spirituality, I can come in, you call me. uh, but this is for me is my nutrition. I'm learning a lot. I learn a lot to help people is helping me. Cleansing, I learning more. When Marcella give me the insights that my incorporate because I don't have conscience when I incorporate. I don't know nothing. And she, oh, you preta velha, tell this. Oh, your pomba gira, so inspiring. And the older woman's talking to me. Oh, she say that. Oh, I feeling that. This for me is important, This the more the money, this the nutrition real and people understand this spirituality because it's very simple. It's so simple. Candomblé and Umbanda, the real, it's simple. Have a mystery, but this mystery you learning, step by step in your life to understand, to connect, When you want, I teach in this in my gatherings. Uh, Spirituality is not the barganha, bargain. No, this is not the bargain. It's relationship. You build in the relationship. It's not I put the offer. Yeah, the offer is important. Your intention, but it's not the bargain. It's relationship you're doing.
Yes, I I truly connect with that as well, and I can see a parallel between all of that we are talking today and plant medicine, because these meetings, Women Who Care, are about women and sacred ancient plant medicine. But we are talking about ancient medicine.
Yeah, yeah,
We are
yeah,
talking about
yeah.
ancient medicine.
But at the same time, for me, in Candomblé, in Umbanda, you don't use medicine. The medicine is you. You're the medicine. In the real, you don't need. You don't need. Okay, the medicine is help, is well, is good. But that you are a medicine.
Perfect. That was the point. Exactly. The group
Mm-hmm.
you build, the community you're building, it's also a medicine itself.
Mm-hmm.
This
Exactly.
spirituality connect with
Mm-hmm.
this ancient, as you said, simple but not easy words of the guides. It's a medicine. These sacred words are medicine. And also the plant medicines that I know you also consecrate in the rooftop. But not always, right? That's the point also. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about plant medicine. It's about many
Exactly.
medicines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
One thing interesting
Yuki.
too, Tabata,
Oh,
like Denisia, when I am in her gatherings, and she's incorporating, I mean, it's from Brazil, right? So they are speaking, the entities are speaking in Portuguese. So right now they look at me and then they're like, "Oh, you are the one that I have been working, last time." I was like, "Yes, it's me." Okay, now you're gonna translate like so, I like I like became this, translator from, Denisia's entities, and it's a really, really interesting, really, really interesting, because again, like Denisia can remember a lot. So after that, I have to pretty much debrief Denisia. Oh, they said this for this person, that for that person, and they also left a message for you. And then I have to say even like, her message, like, well, and this is what you should, like you should work on. So it's really interesting, like when we talk about really this like urban like community and bringing all this spirituality, you bring, but then we need translators as we need for when we have spiritual leaders here, like from Brazil, from indigenous communities, also like there's other layers that we work, and in doing that. So it's really, really interesting, and the magic actually at the same point, to experience that, to see that, and be a part of it.
Yes, and for me, it's one of the things I celebrate about your initiative is that you are bringing Sacred Rooftop are bringing Latin medicine to United States, Brazilian, Mexican, and Peruvian with Yuky. So ancestral medicine from here, and giving the all the honor and respect these indigenous leaders need and deserve. I know your work is serious and ethical with these indigenous leaders, and you bring Candomblé and Umbanda with much respect and love with Denisia. I wanted to speak a bit more with Yuky, actually, to hear more about your ancestrality, and what do you feel your ancestrality brings adds into the field. Because interesting that is Denisia and Marcela mentioned that they are doing in Sacred Rooftop things they learned from their families in different ways, but I found this very interesting to see that, and I wanted to hear about you, Yuki.
Well, so my background is primarily Andean. Both my mother and my father are from Peru. I do have some a little bit of Quechua, which is what my mom spoke when she was little. So but I was born in Mexico, so I lived in Mexico for 4 years. So that's the land that birthed me, right? And then I was brought to the United States when I was 4. So I grew up in New Jersey and in and out of New Jersey, New York, because I also had a lot of time in and out of New York. Um, so it's been very interesting for me because I grew up with my mom always doing things like I would get limpias with huevos. So she would do like the egg cleansing, you know what I mean? Or she would make me herb baths, different herb baths that she would put together as I was growing up. But I never really thought anything of it because I grew up more Catholic. It wasn't until later on when I started my medicine journey and started meeting people like Denisia and Marcella that I started to put it all together. I'm like, whoa, my mom's been doing this for a long time. And then, started to also myself sit with more Andean elders or try and find more information about my background and the history between the Incas, because my mom is from Cusco. So I've traveled back and I've done medicine work in Cusco and Sacred Valley, and it's different for me. And that's how I kind of, so going off of your question, this would probably be more of like how psychedelics is now getting brought into this whole community thing, right? Because I have had the experience of working with grandmother medicine here in the United States. And then I've also had the experience of working with grandmother medicine in Peru, where my ancestors are from, right? Completely two different experiences. Working with the medicines in Peru, I received different journeys. I received, like, I connected with different things there that I never could connect with here in the United States. Because I think a lot of that has to do with the energy and how, even though I'm not haven't been raised in Peru, because of my background and my lineage, it does show up when the medicine is present. So building this community has been interesting for me because I didn't grow up in community like Denisia and Marcella. I didn't have that experience of being in communities. I was a loner, I didn't really even have women friends. Like I didn't have girlfriends growing up. I was the tomboy who hung out with all the guys. So for me, it's been interesting navigating all of it. And of course, now that, I started having more women friend relationships, like good ones, after my 30s. And now I'm 40, I'm going to be 43 this year. So it's been a good 10 years. But actually working with women in a safe container where I feel just as supported and nurtured as I am giving support and nurture, this is kind of, I think, solidly the first time that I've been able to do it in this way. And a lot of it has to do with me learning more about my Andean culture and learning more about how communities were run back then, not just like in not just with women and how women, because back then, especially when Andean culture, the men and the men didn't, like, they separated themselves. The women prayed in one area, the men prayed in another area. There were things that the men do that the women weren't allowed to do, like sweat lodges weren't women weren't allowed in they call it something else, but they weren't allowed inside the sweat lodges the way the men were allowed inside the sweat lodges. So it's very interesting how, as I'm learning more about the Andean culture, it's actually helping me build community because I'm learning what my ancestors did as opposed to what I was conditioned and learned here in my present state, in my 40 years of life. So yeah, it's I do come from a little bit of a different background when it comes to community than Denisia and Marcella. So it is now me kind of tapping into my ancestry more than I would have years ago.
Thank you for sharing.
There's one
Thank you
person,
for
you didn't
sharing.
grow up in community, but it is the community builder pro, it is Yuky, right, Denisia? I think Yuki is like, from the three of us, she's like, the community pro. Like she's like someone that brings like so many people that it feels like the Yuki that you grow up like in doing that. And it's interesting actually to even know that because this is the first time I see Yuki talking about that. So it's interesting.
We have a question here on our chat from Maisa. I will read the question, and each of you who wants to answer that will be welcome. Okay. Maisa said, I'm very curious how you manage to build community, how leadership looks like, and making that horizontal without hierarchy in practical terms, and the main challenges in making that happen in this way.
I wish I had a better answer to that, really, because there's no hierarchy in between us. I feel it's very organically, and to me, it comes down to actually the relationship, like who you choose to work with. So I think that was the main thing for us. Like as long as we are aligned at that in at the relationship level, and there's also a lot of like transparency, like there was times that Yuki called me and kind of called me out in something that I've made, or a decision that I've taken, that I answer someone by myself without, let's say, not consulting them, and then Yuki would call me out and say, oh, Marcella, you should have, spoke to me and Denisia before you say something, for example. And then I right away I was like, oh yeah, it's true, I should have done that. So I think there's there's no hierarchy really because there's no transparency. And that doesn't mean that we don't make mistakes. We make mistakes all the time, but we are very transparent with each other, and not only in the decisions, but also, which something very, very important, is how we are actually feeling. There's many in those, past year, there's times that I was not feeling my best, and people can feel it, but then you can, Denise, can just, take that, like do more, and like be in the circle, really giving more support to people. And then there's times that Yuki was not feeling, it was not in a good time in life, and then we feel that, and we kind of, like just take over and help her to go to the process, or Denisia. So I think really it's really being transparent with each other, whether things are doing well or not doing well with ourselves, but also with the decision, and the like small mistakes here and there that we may have, and that we're going to keep having. Actually, it doesn't mean that, oh, this conversation, it's like this is going to be the last time that this happens. No, I think, it's part of when you have like three people taking decisions and doing things. There's a lot of things that are gonna not run in the way that we thought about it. But as long as we are like keep the conversation open, and as long as we are like, I feel with Denise and Yuki, I don't have like, I'm not stepping on eggs, to talk to them. Like I can be very open and myself, and like I didn't like this, or I like that, I live this, I don't necessarily agree with that, or sometimes even like when, let's say like I am not really want to do something, but Yuki really, really wants. I kind of just, well, like, you know what? I'm gonna support you. Like, I'm not on the same level, like, but I'm supporting, right? So I think as long there's transparent, as long as that we feel that way, for that's why the things sort of like it feels organically. It doesn't, like, we don't need to have like really, roles. Like it's really, it feels organically, like for that reason. And I don't think I would have called other people. Actually, I think even to like when we started like the community, we say no, it's the three of us, like that we got into that. Like I don't think I would have done. I knew, like I always knew that to build community we need more than one person. Like it's impossible to, build a community with one person, one leader. I don't think that's really like possible. You're gonna need more people, and I don't think I would have done with any other person that I know actually here. Like it's because we are very aligned in the way we relate to people, but we are very different people too. But we are very aligned on the approach that we have with people, and with the trust, and also the transparency that we can have in between each other.
Yeah, I want to add, yes, for sure. Marcella touched a big one, communication. We have very good communication styles with each other. Um, I also do feel very, very open. I feel good enough with Marcella and Denisia to speak to them, to have hard conversations, right? Because that's the thing. If you can't have hard conversations with the people you're trying to build something with, you really shouldn't be building something with them. It's kind of like, how are you able to then come in? Because I think, let me just real quick read the question real quick, because I had something to say about it. As far as how leadership look like, as far as like the roles, right? Um, so why we say it's us three is because it's gonna go a little deeper into how we complement each other. Marcella's really good with putting things together. She's really good with keeping track of things. She's really good with financial stuff. Denisia is really good with putting our spiritual things together. She's really good with coming in with a lot of knowledge. She's really good with nurturing as well. And Marcella's also really good with nurturing the community. I'm really good with, I'm a little more, even though I did sales for a really long time. So I have a lot of thought processes and background on how things would work as far as, okay, how do we help people continue to come back, right? Not to sell them anything, but there is a sales that goes behind building a community. There is something that you have to put out that people are like, wait, this feels good. I want to come back and do that again. And I want to invest in that, right? Because they're investing in themselves, they're investing in us, putting their time in that. They're saying, even energetically, whatever donation, because our it's always sliding scale, first of all. We don't have a set price for anything that we do. And even if there are people who can't come or have some kind of financial issues, we offer scholarships that sometimes our community members will pay a little extra. So we'll have a little extra money that we can offer somewhere our scholarship. Or we ourselves talk about it and we're like, you know what? This person really wants to come. They can't afford it. We can offer them a scholarship and we take care of it. You know, there are things that we do on the inside that we three get together and actually do have a conversation about. So being able to openly speak and say how we feel about things and know that we won't be judged, that it will be considered no matter what it is, you know, like again, going off of what Marcella said, there are some times that we're like, Marcella will be like, oh, I kind of want to do this, so I think this, and one of us will be like, I don't know, or I'll say, hey, I want to do this, and someone in the background will say, I don't know, and then we three talk about it and we talk about how we feel about it, what we feel is good, what we feel might be a little bit negative, and then we decide together. Um, we do vote on things as well. Like let's say there's certain things we want to do. Like we started this creation time in the beginning, right? Of our integration time, of our integration monthly meetups. So now we're deciding, okay, what's our art project going to be? You know, someone has to decide, and we have to decide, like, okay, who's bringing what, to like what kind of materials, you know, who's going to lead it, you know, all those things. There has to be, you know, it's again, because what Marcella said, it's not just one person kind of doing this, it's three people. So then we talk about it, who has the capacity, and that's exactly how we end up also supporting each other, because sometimes, you know, we come in again very authentic. If we're not having a good day, we might not be having a good day. You might see us in a corner somewhere not doing much that time, you know? But then there are times when you see us up and doing everything. So it's having each other also helps us still get across what we want to do. But if we're not 100% that day, we have the support, like honest support, that we can continue going forward as a community, as a group. Um, which, as far as the challenges goes, that can also be a challenge because there are three of us. It is hard. Like when I have to have conversations with Marcella, I don't have to. Sometimes when they're like, when I have to be like, "Hey, Marcella, why did that happen?" I have to check myself first. You know what I mean? I have to check myself first and be like, okay, does Marcella know that maybe she should have checked in with us, or maybe she doesn't even know? Should I even say anything to Marcella? Should I leave it alone? You know, like there's conversations that I have to have with myself, not just as a part of being a community builder, but also being Marcella's friend, because that is big, is also big for me. You know, we're building this community and stuff, but we're also us three very good friends. Like I really consider these two women my sisters. So it is important to me what they feel when I come across a certain way. So I also have to take a minute, and this is my work and it's helping me as well. Building this community is definitely helping me. There are things, there's things that I've done within the last year that have stretched me to my limits, and I'm like, whoa, this is very interesting, because I'm again practicing all of these new things as far as like I know what I have a vision of what I want communities to be like, but it's always been a dream because I've never really lived it. So now that I'm working into living it, there are challenges that come up that I'm like, ooh, I didn't know that was going to be a challenge. But it's been getting easier and easier, and I couldn't pick any two better people either, Marcella, to do this with. So yeah, I hope that answered the question. And if it didn't, please ask more away. We have plenty of time, I think.
One thing that
Great.
also like in this that I would like to add also, you know, what Yuki mentioned, like this is a really big I say it's is the as a neuroscientist, I say the sacred rooftop is the human petri dish. You know, it's really like an experience, and to me, is a research, right? It's like I'm always like, okay, if we do this, we're gonna, it's gonna, the result's gonna be that, and it's pretty much, a research experience. But like, there's something really interesting. I think not me, not Yuki, and not Denisia. We were not women used to occupy spaces of leadership and seeing ourselves as a leader. And for us, it also has been such a growth in that capacity, I feel, because, we put Denisia in a spotlight and she has to lead something. And then she's not comfortable with, but she has to, and then she comes and then she leads. And then we were like, wow, Denisia, so powerful, right? But she's like, no, inside myself, I was like, shaking and was so uncomfortable to me. And for me as well, and I have to speak in front of people, like it's always uncomfortable. It's not something comfortable, right? And the Yuki, the same thing, and actually in the beginning we used to, even like when we were hosting somebody else like event, let's say it's an indigenous person, that we are, even Glauber, always people ask for us, oh, can you do a welcome? And then we would say, oh, Yuki, you do. And then Yuki, no, 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 I'm not gonna do it. Marcella, you do it. Then would say, Denisia, do you? We would like kind of throw the ball, like to do not do it because we are not comfortable of being in the spotlight. And the Sacred Rooftop like is putting us in a spotlight, and every event someone is gonna be in the spotlight because someone is gonna have to lead something, right? So for me, as it has been also a leadership school, because the more we do, the more confident we get in the things that we can do, the more we grow. And the more like the more comfortable we are, the more people like the more comfortable we are actually, that's when really, really people can feel, and they can really, get inspired by, they come to us and they really but that depends of the level of comfort, and it has been interesting, has been growing as we go, because this is definitely not a space that we are used to. We are still kind of, every event we grow a little bit more, we become a little bit more comfortable. But that's not a something that we have been, oh yeah, we are leaders, that hasn't been the case.
We have some more questions. I'm very happy that you are participating. So, Julie, please come up.
Hello, all. I'm sorry. I came on a little late and I just saw the announcement in the women's chat group in Psychedelics. And honestly, I'm missing like what this community is. And I'm wondering, is it online? I know it's Women Who Care. Is it online and in person? It sounds like there's an in-person element. I'm wondering if it's online also. And yeah, I'm very interested because I'm working on creating this women's collective online for women who are interested in self-love, sisterhood, psychedelic, service, and social justice. That's kind of the pillars. And it's like the idea is to have a collective of women circles where different women can lead their little circles, and then have the women coming in, but also, like you're saying, almost like a leadership school where they're seeing other people lead and then they have a chance too. Like, I could run a little circle, why not? And they can do it in a safe place and learn about that. And then it's like online now, but encouraging women too to bring each other together in person. Like, I could just host a circle and make it, so it's not so difficult, to come up with. And then the thing that I think is really important, I don't know, I'm putting a lot out there, but is like how creating that connection between the participants, because I see a lot of communities where, which I see you're not trying to do, where there's the guru or the leader or leaders even, but it's all kind of focused towards them and everybody's like, oh, I want to talk to so and so and I want to get their knowledge, versus how do you encourage people to really, like, a lot of breakout rooms and encourage the women to make connections among themselves. I feel like sometimes that's missing. So just throwing that all out there.
Great, Julie. Thank you for asking, because today we have actually two communities together here, because we have Psychedelic Parenthood community that is hosting this meeting, and Women Who Care is this series when we bring women in the field of psychedelics, plant medicine, ancestral knowledge to talk with me, Tabata, but in the name of Psychedelic Parenthood community. So Psychedelic Parenthood community is built in Portuguese and in English because it was founded by Brazilian folks, Glauber and Jaqueline. So we build knowledge and we do these lives both in Portuguese with Brazilian women and for English speakers. Today we have also two Brazilian women, Marcela and Denisia are Brazilian, but they lead with Yuky this community called Sacred Rooftop. And I feel that is a great moment for you, Marcela, Yuky, and Denisia, to talk more about the Sacred Rooftop as it is, so people can know, maybe can visit you, how it is to be in your community.
Yeah.
Marcela, would you like? Oh, go.
Well, so I can talk about the hierarchy because Candomblé and Umbanda, this is like very important, the hierarchy, respect. But for me, I came from the Candomblé. I grow up, you know, and and this the respect, asking for blessing. My mom, my grandma, very very like I never go leave my home and asking for blessing. Oh, my mom came, no, and I need to say blessing. I need to ask him to blessing. But for me, in this community, me, Marcela, and Yuki, the hierarchy, like, is my mind, don't have competition. We in the same page, in the same flow. Don't have like, oh, I have more acknowledge than Marcela. No, this is the complement. And for me, this is spirituality. When you see your sister, because you learning the old people and the younger people to have something to share, have something to teach you, to learning. So hierarchy for me is like system, to control, to put more competition, I'm better than you. I have more evolution. And the sacred rooftop, I think this is the best spot to people can to integrating, surrender, don't like, oh no, this space is safe for you cry, safe for you open your heart. This is the intention, my intention, the Marcela, the Yuki, to learning spirituality and in the best way, in the poor way, you know, because we learn a lot. Ever, gatherings we're doing, oh, you see, no, we have conversations, before and after, and oh, we need to do this better, you learning. we learning more. So this I want to say.
There's
Thank
also,
you,
Julie,
thank you.
the Sacred Rooftop is in New York City, and we do mostly in-person events. We don't do a lot of like online. We want to start actually to do monthly integration, but we mostly focus on the in-person really aspect, which I think New York, it's we are thirsty about that, because of the the rhythm of the city of so we need that. And we host like monthly, so it's Yuki, Denise, and I like pretty much holding this space, but we don't put ourselves also, we are not always the main leading. We have a very collaborative way of working, so every circle that we host, we usually bring someone else to collaborate with us. So we had in the past, sound circles with our Jewish community people, then we had with our Iranian people, a few weeks ago, or we have the indigenous people coming, and then it's almost like we bring someone else to shine and we come as a supporting that person. And is the opposite, I think, which a lot of communities sometimes have, what you mentioned about having a guru or putting ourselves as the spotlight, right? We actually do the opposite. We are sort of like we put other people in the spotlight and we are supporting their work. And I think this is one of the things that people feel the way that with us. Not that we don't lead, there are certain parts, like as Yuki mentioned, usually our circles, we start with some craft work, which is more manual, whether is like doing vision boards or doing Ojo de Dios that Yuki has done, or mandalas or something like that. And then we move to the main part, which it is before the sound circle, to share something, and then we collaborate with someone, like let's say we invite someone from the Jewish community to talk about, right, and to share some prayers with us. And then like so we have a certain, but I feel like everything that we do, it doesn't feel that way just because we collaborate. We are very collaborate with people, and that to what Denisia said, which is really important, like there's really no competition. Like and I think that comes from having a lot of like women together. Like there's no competition really. For us is all about collaboration all the time. And not only like here, there's even examples of we have a very good friend of us that has a space which is like 5 minutes away from us here in New York City. She supports the same people. They do almostly the same events, right? And sometimes we do Wednesday and she does on Thursday. And if we think about it, like, oh my God, we are going to be competing with audience because we are working with the same people, doing pretty much the same events, charging the same thing, and it's so close the space from one of each other. And yet, like, we are really, really collaborative with her. Like, she brings people to our space, we bring people to her space. So I think as long as we are open to collaborate with people, that's how we break this more kind of guru approach, or like the more we collaborate, the more we sort of able really to build circles, in a sense that there's no hierarchy really. Everybody's just talking to each other and helping each other as much as we can, right? And I think that's really really the key. Like it's no competition and more collaboration.
I would
Beautiful.
also like to add, because I know you were speaking more about women only work, yeah, Julie? Like your groups are going to be more
Yes,
women
yes,
only?
I love all this too. It's what I just feel bringing
Okay.
women together is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. So our community is not just women. We are a co-ed community, but we do women only work. So like I lead women only psilocybin retreats. We do have women only, like we took women only to Othership. We had to, we do things outside of our space as well. We take our, we offered a discount and donation based only, and we took them to Othership. Othership is this, it's a sauna. So we did sauna and cold plunges with the women in our community. We do offer specific things just for women, even though we are a co-ed community. As you can see, this specific, our specific chat today right now is just women, which we do like to do. So I think that because we're women, we're also able to speak to each other as women. Yeah. So we can have hard conversations with each other, even though it's hard. It's easier for us to understand each other because we do, like Marcella said, we do collaborate a lot with other women who are also running communities. Like I collaborate with Camila Mila's here also in our chat. She's one of the women who runs a community down in Pennsylvania. I collaborate with another woman, Jamie, who also is in Pennsylvania. We collaborate with a lot of women. We're collaborating with Tabitha now, and that's kind of how we keeping the women working together. We also have opened up conversations about safety in the psychedelic space for women and how we can help each other in that keeping those conversations open so our women feel safe enough to continue to have those conversations so that we're all aware of what's happening in our own communities, right? Because the safer we can make women to speak to each other, and like you're trying to do as well, Julie, is not
That's
just
so
making the
important.
spotlight about us, but yeah, spotlighting someone else and allowing them and giving them that safety when something happens in their community, they can't speak to us. And that's kind of what we also want to open up for a lot of women is, you know, um, we all know things happen in ceremony spaces with men, and a woman's not going to talk about it when we're in a co-ed space. So we have to keep these women-only spaces so that we can keep these conversations open and so we can help each other, even if nothing is done right away. Just speaking about it and knowing that other people know can help a woman who's going through something. So definitely, women's spaces is something that we also do work with. It's not the only thing we do, but definitely something that we support.
Great. Thank you. I feel that we all learned a lot from Julie's and Maisa's questions. Uh, I will pass now to Camila, who has raised rent, and then Maisa has a last question on the chat that I'll read for you after Camila's question.
Hello. I'm always working too. Um, Mine is more of not much of a, well, maybe a question might come out of it, but I want to give praise. I want to give praise to Yuki, to Marcela, to Denisia for the work that they do, for the people that they are, because they are so incredible in so many different ways. And as I collaborate outside of my community to hold space for, my indigenous relatives that come, I couldn't choose any better people to collaborate with. And I couldn't choose a better space and a better family space to take my children. I don't take my children just anywhere. I don't go to ceremony just anywhere because my children come with me wherever I go. And I think that so much of this conversation has weaved through the conversation that we had a couple months ago, Tabitha, which the one Women Who Care circle that I participated was about women in spiritual caregiving. And everything is about spiritual caregiving as we build community, as we're together in community, either as we're coming to participate or as we're actively building community together. And I think it's just so beautiful to be able to bring my children to these spaces and know that my children are safe, know that they're welcome, and know that there are many hands there that will play with them, that will hold them, that will play a maraca with them, and that will sing and dance with them. And also knowing that there's families that are coming to this space, you know, like just fresh 2 weeks ago, not even 2 weeks ago, we were with them in New York, and they had, you know, one of our relatives from Brazil, Nawasian and Yakabanu, and they had their daughter there, and she's 5 years old, and my oldest is 5 years old, and they become best friends so quickly, and we're playing together, and that energy just, you know, and it isn't, and I think that if any of you in this call have been to any spaces, ceremony space, right? Let's just focus on ceremony, not just like, you know, any circles or gatherings, but ceremony space. I think there's a void of spaces that we can feel safe to bring our children, and it's and also for women to be there, right? Like women with children and women, because a lot of these spaces, especially here in the United States, they are you know, very masculine, right? That there's a lot of men, and men are always, oh yeah, like, you know, the women can stay home with the children and the man can go to the ceremony. And then there's like lots of spaces, or, you know, nowadays, like you see lots of, or what Yuki said before, like only men get in the sweat lodge. There's even cultures that we come from that, which there's a little bit of decolonizing that we have to do in these spaces where, well, since when has it been like this, right? Because it wasn't like this. I come from a matriarchal society, a matriarchal culture, you know, from southern Brazil. And I think that most of our indigenous cultures, they are matriarchal. You know, I cannot say all because that isn't true, but most of them, right? And so just to be able to step into a community that holds us, and at least for me, that holds me in all of the identities that I carry, right? Because wherever I go, I am indigenous. Wherever I go, I am a woman. Wherever I go, I am two spirit. Wherever I go, I'm a mother. And even if the children are all with me, but especially at this very tender age that my children are, they're 5 and 2, they go with me wherever I go, right? And then there's the aspect of myself as a community leader, building community in Philadelphia. I've been here for 16 years, doing, you know, some of this work for about 10 years. And for me, the honesty that I had to come for myself and for my community here is I do not have the capacity to build community alone, and I don't want to, right? And so it has been, a lot of my work has been, okay, who am I safe to collaborate with? Who am I safe that can hold this space with me? So I have a bunch of women here that I work together to hold these spaces. And then as the community expands, I was like, oh no, I like, as I met Yuki through Glauber as well a couple of years ago, it was like, yes, I need you here. Like, I need you, sis. And then as we weave through, oh, we're going to do work with some indigenous elders. And I got to meet Marcela, and it was like instant, like, oh, like, I need help with this, Marcela's there. I needed help with that, Marcela's there. And like either translation or the kids or whatever it is. And just being able to wear those many hats, to wear those many identities as well, as the three of them are mothers, right? And then as I step into that place of, oh, I don't want to be the spotlight at all. And then having to sort of like really being pushed by universe, being pushed by my elders, being pushed by spirit to just go, no, you gotta sit down, and this is what you gotta do now for this specific ceremony. And then me trembling and going, nah, I'm not gonna do this. And then I call them, each one of them individually, and the three of them said the exact same thing to me. Oh, that's about damn time you're doing that. And that inspired me so much, and it came from a place of, you know, and then of the sharing of the three of them to share with me like where they were in their healing journeys and in their journey as community leaders, and how that comes to be together, the three of them. It was so empowering for me as a fellow sister who is also in a space of, you know, gathering people, right? To be able to look at myself in the mirror and go, all right, I've got this. I have my inner, you know, confidence because I'm backed up by all these badass women. And I do not take it lightly. I do not take it lightly, because these are not just like, these are badass women. These are badass mothers. And in a way that their aura, their spirit speaks for it, you know, for themselves. and with so much humbleness, with so much kindness. And all I pray for daily when I sit to do my work with my children and with others in my community is that we can have more of that, and that we can wake up more of that inside of ourselves. You know, not just the, oh yes, I have all of these many things that I can offer, or I have all of these many ways or many ideas, right? Like we all are creative people. We all have so many beautiful ideas, but being able to actually put them in practice in a such a gentle way, in a safe way, in a kind, in a loving way, is something that it is what our ancestors did. And it is what I always say, we're not here because it's a coincidence that we all met. Like from me, Marcela, and Denisia, we are from three different places, three different states in Brazil, right? And we met here in the United States after we all had been here for X amount of years. And I don't take that as a coincidence, right? And then like Yuki and my baby, they share ancestry. And so in a way, I always see this as either seven generations, or we can put however many generations we want. Our ancestors prayed for us to be here and to be able to be in community together. And so I'm very grateful, you know, very grateful. And if any of you on this call have never been to the rooftop, please come, because it's such a beautiful place. I always feel a sense of it's really like, as I look through the landscape and all the buildings that we can see when we're up there, I close my eyes. And I told Yuki the last time we were there, I said I close my eyes and I'm in awe that from the place that I come from, like seeing all those trees and all gardens and stuff like that, and then looking at these buildings and going, what is the human mind capable of? You know, and so I get it. And then last time we were in New York to close it, my daughter, my 5-year-old, she kept saying, I love Marcela's world. I love Marcela's world. I want to live in Marcela's world. And I was like, wow, okay, I never thought you liked the city that much. So then we spent the night and then, like, you know, slept in a hotel, whatever. When we were driving back, and then spent some time in the forest, and she was her happy self. And then when we were coming back, she's like, actually, I love Marcela's world, but we can go visit, but I don't want to go live there. It's too busy. But she saw, like, I know what she saw because it's what I saw that night as well. And every time I go there, you know, I feel the same way. So, yeah. Hush. So thank you so much. Thank you, Tabata, for holding this space so beautifully, for gathering all of us. And I'm very very thankful, and much love to Glauber and Jackie as well for, you know, all the work with PPC, which I'm so glad to be able to be connected with these beautiful communities. You know, so thank you. Say thank you. Yeah, hasha, hasha.
It's always a blessing to hear you, Mila. Thank you for being here with us. Well, to close this up, despite this conversation, very, very good today, very fertile, inspiring thoughts, and inspiring affection as well. It's not only about the mental, but which affection, which emotions all these conversations brought here today. So I want to acknowledge that. Maisa asked about the decisions in Sacred Rooftop. The decisions you involve the entire community in the decision-making process that you have to make. How's that work?
It is not a democracy. It's not- it's a community. So like we really don't, like, pretty much the who we collaborate or the decisions made of who we're gonna collaborate, what we're gonna do, it's pretty much in between Denisia, Yuki and I. We do understand, because as we really being confluence and collaborate with so many people, we do understand that maybe some members are not going to be so keen to come to certain events because of the collaborations that we do. But that is the price that we pay to really expand learning, not only for ourselves and for the people that are open to receive that. Yeah, the decisions are not like we don't really take like voting for the full, because I also feel that if we start to do that, things start to get delayed, and the time just goes by because it's just a lot of people involved. And I don't think we are going to ever be in a point where everybody's going to feel fully satisfied or fully, in the same page all the time that we are. And that's okay, like we do different things for different flavors of people and events, and we attract different people too. Some people come, in everything. Some people would not choose to come in certain things because of their own kind of preferences. But all the decisions are pretty much in between Denisia, Yuky, and I, like no broader, larger decisions in the community.
We also have community guidelines that we all three put together. So people kind of have a guideline already of what our community, like what, I mean, they're guidelines, right? They're not really rules, they're just guidelines, but we also do have that in place so that people can see, okay, this is the kind of community I'm coming into, and then they can make a choice whether or not they want to stay and be a part of what we're creating, or if they, want to keep moving on, which again, like what Marcella said, we're very okay with if people show up or don't show up. I mean, in the beginning, sometimes we had days that 3 people were there and we were like, we're doing this anyway, you know what I mean? So it's not really about satisfying everyone or making sure that everyone is getting, it's hard enough to build a community than to have the whole community trying to tell you what to do about your community, right? Um, so we do have community guidelines. Also, we are open to suggestions. If something really feels, we always put that in all of our messages. We always put that in our emails, if we're open to, and they can contact us individually together, whatever they want to do, they could be anonymous. Our emails are available. We have a WhatsApp chat. So we have a chat group where they can DM us individually to our own phone numbers if they needed to, so if anybody had anything like concerns or suggestions, we're always open to those things. And we do always consider those things as well. It's not like we're like, oh, someone sent us a suggestion or an opinion or something, and we like are like, we're not even gonna read that. You know what I mean? Like, no, it gets read. It gets all three of us. We talk about it. We see whether or not anything gets done about it. But we are the ones who make the decision on that. And we do call we call ourselves the Sacred Roof Council, us three together. So there is, I guess, a little bit of like what we like to say, so that people also are like, okay, these three are the ones we go to if we need anything, right? So yeah, outside of that, I think, yeah, most of the decisions, and when we do make decisions, again, not one person makes a decision. We three get together and make those decisions. So it's not put on just, again, one person.
Thank you for your time, your patience, and your kindness through all this conversation to open up a bit of the background in Sacred Rooftop for us to understand, to get inspired. And I really hope this whole conversation inspire more women to do more community work. Also in urban jungles, because we need this ancestral technology in this urban context. So thank you for this evening, ladies.